In this November's election, California voters are going to have to vote on Proposition 32, which would increase the state's minimum wage to $18 effective the first of the year. Coming up, we'll tell you why, if approved, this initiative will spike our cost of living and destroy thousands of jobs. It's not worth it. Coming up, why you should vote no on 32. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California. And let me tell you, a lot of people say, well, why not do a minimum wage increase? Boy, people are struggling in this economy and we got to give them a little bit of a raise. It's a feel-good concept that even some Republican voters get seduced by. But it is an absolute economic failure on so many levels. It may feel good, but it actually does a lot of grave damage to working families, to the middle class, to people seeking their start in their career. So let me talk first about what is on the ballot. Proposition 32 would increase California's minimum wage to $18 per hour. Right now, California's minimum wage, with a number of exceptions, by the way, California's minimum wage is $16 this year. It will rise to $16.50 January 1st without Prop 18. Prop 32. Prop 32 would make it $18 as of January 1st if it passes. The minimum wage is already on the increase in California. Politicians have imposed minimum wage of $20 for fast food workers, and a very costly bill was approved by the legislature last year to spike the minimum wage for healthcare workers. And again, not just healthcare workers, but the landscaper at a doctor's office. Yeah, they're classified as healthcare workers. Anyway, the minimum wage initiative, Prop 32, as a result, is not getting a whole lot of attention by even the people who put it on the ballot, because their view is, well, the minimum wage is probably going to go up anyway, automatically with all these other bills. And even business groups haven't put in money to oppose Prop 32. Now, I'm going to tell you why you should vote resoundingly no on Prop 32. And again, it's acknowledging the fact that these politicians are going to increase the minimum wage no matter what. But by voting down Prop 32, you, the voter, can send a message that you're on to their game, that there is no free lunch, that you can't just say magic wand time, you get more money, and that there not be some sort of economic impact, a counter blow to the very people that the minimum wage is purportedly helping out, those who are at the lower end of the income ladder. It actually hurts them more than anything. And to talk about minimum wage, let me just give you the basics about the economy. I think that your wage should be set by the labor market. And the labor market, while it has flaws, does a hell of a lot better job of setting the value of your talent, your work ethic. The labor market is so much better than government coming in and imposing an across-the-board standard. And the labor market works quite well. If someone is working and they don't feel that they're valued enough, or that prices have gone up and they're not getting what they deserve. You saw this with the whole inflation spike in the last 3 years. Workers go in and say, hey, boss, I need more money. And the boss will realize, well, I know prices have gone up and other people are asking for a higher wage. And I really like this guy or this gal. They're important to my operation, so I'll give them the increase. If the boss decides not to give the increase and it's a valuable worker, the boss will pay the price, and deservedly so. So the worker then will go across the street to another employer and get a higher wage. That's how it works. Now, by the same token, there's a lot of people out there who have an inflated sense of their self-worth, and their skill set and their work ethic is not good. And the employer knows that. And they come in and they say, I want more money. I can get more money somewhere else. The employer then says, gee, this is the off-ramp opportunity. Sorry, I can't give you the increase, but if you want to go somewhere else, I totally understand. And other employers will look at that employee and say, yeah, you're not worth it, or may hire them temporarily and then turn around and lay them off because, again, they weren't worth it in the first place. Again, Darwin, the free market, really solves these problems much better than government. Now, what happens when government comes in and says everyone gets an increase? Well, a couple things happen. Number one, we are no longer judging people's worth based on merit and value. We are instead having a mandated wage, which may not be justified by market conditions and may not be reflected in the value that the employer is receiving in return. When that happens, the employer takes a hit. They're overpaying for labor. And as a result, they either raise prices on you and me, or they cut the job. It's a lose-lose outcome. Also, by having a minimum wage increase, you basically reward the low performers and you penalize the high performers, because high performers should actually get a bigger piece of the labor budget for an employer because they're doing more, they're having a bigger impact. When that labor budget has to be spread across all the lower performers because of a crazy mandate that has no logic, then the high performers end up seeing some of their value dollars go to those that are less valuable. And the third reason why the minimum wage hurts workers is that it most importantly hurts entry-level workers. Minimum wage jobs are entry-level jobs. It's your foot in the door. But in California, we have destroyed those entry-level jobs. We've even eliminated internships. Now in California, you can't possibly give someone an unpaid internship because the government politicians have said that somehow is predatory. It's bad. Look, I got my start in my career because I had an internship unpaid. And by golly, it was a life changer for me. And a lot of people have the same experience where they get that unpaid internship, they get their foot in the door, and then they show what they're valuable. They show their value, and they build relationships, and then they get a paid job. What we've done is we've eliminated dreams for workers, entry-level workers, by eliminating the entry-level jobs, internships, and the minimum wage jobs. Let's look at some of the data. And for this, we go to the National Federation of Independent Businesses. They represent small businesses in California. Only 1.4 of all hourly paid workers, again, 1.4 of hourly paid workers, which is not 1.4 of all workers. A lot of people are salaried, but just 1.4% of hourly paid workers are minimum wage. And they tend to be very young. Age 25 or less is 44% of those paid federal minimum wage or less. Teenagers, ages 16 to 19, 4% earn the minimum wage or less compared to 1% of workers 25 and older. So we're talking about a very small percentage, a slice of workers that are out there that are going to be given this benefit by a minimum wage. The second thing that you need to understand is that the left justifies a minimum wage by saying, well, you can't raise a family and send your kids to college and buy a home and retire on minimum wage. Exactly. You shouldn't be stuck at a minimum wage job for your entire working career from age 18 all the way up to 70 years old. You shouldn't be in a minimum wage job. If you are, there's something wrong with you, not with the economy. And so we are being sold this illogical, unrealistic concept that somehow, if you want people to be able to afford a house, you got to increase the minimum wage. No. If you want to be able to give people a start in the career of their choice, give them a lot of on-ramps to that career through internships and minimum wage jobs. Again, as they develop their skill sets, they're not going to stick around at a minimum wage job because they're like, hey, I know my stuff. I showed my value. And maybe if this employer doesn't want to give me a higher paid job, then maybe I take my internship or my minimum wage job experience and go to another employer and get more money. That's how it works best. And so no one is, supporting a family or buying a home or sending kids to college on minimum wage, because that's not what the jobs are designed for. What is happening? Well, prices are going up. You saw that with fast food. Since the fast food law went into effect in California, we've had 10,000 fast food workers that have lost their jobs since September of 2023, which is when the law was passed. And that's according to Stanford University. They did a study. We've also seen an average increase in fast food restaurant prices of about 7 to 10%, depending upon the food chain. And on top of that, we see historic pricing completely eliminated in the market. Remember the $5 footlong at Subway? 2019, there used to be the $5 footlong. Not in California. In other states, they still have a $5 footlong, but they don't advertise it in California because it doesn't exist. It's now $8.50 for a footlong sandwich at Subway. And that's, if you're lucky, at the right store. And so your prices are higher, which means the very people at the lower end of the rung that minimum wage is supposed to help, that is a sucker punch to them and their disposable income. They're actually going to be farther behind as a result of a minimum wage increase versus getting some sort of help that the politicians are shamefully pretending to offer. Look, at Reform California, we are going through all ballot measures on the November ballot. We're giving you a plain English description of them, unlike the politicians' deceptive titles that they put on the ballot. And we're giving you these little primers as to what each measure does and why it might be good or bad. We also urge a position on Prop 32, the minimum wage increase, even though a lot of people say it's not relevant anymore because other state laws have outstripped it and the wages are going to increase. I say it's time to send a message to those politicians that we're on to their minimum wage fantasy scam and that we're voting no because we know it doesn't help us. It only hurts us. That would actually be the best outcome of Prop 32 in California, is to vote no on this minimum wage $18 gimmick and send that message. So we urge a no vote. Please share this video so that people at least have a different perspective on the minimum wage than what they're being told by the liberal media. Like the video and subscribe to this channel so we can continue to bring you updates every day on breaking news and politics in California. And of course, go to reformcalifornia.org, sign up to get our voter guide. When the ballots hit, you will get a plain English voter guide with not only these state measures explained, but also the local measures as well. And we do endorsements in candidate races, so you know the good ones running for office. Sign up at the bottom of reformcalifornia.org, first name, last name, email, phone, and zip code, and we will send you the voter guide. Until next time, vote no on Prop 32. Minimum wage is not a free lunch. It'll only hurt you. Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.